Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. This is going to be my closer Charles showcase video, arena showcase. So we just go through a couple fights. I'll walk you guys through it as I usually do, and at the end we'll wrap up with the stats, the build, and you know what I think about him and his overall kit design, etc, etc. So hopefully you guys enjoy these fights. Alright, so let's get started with the first battle. A couple of these fights I think were when arena meta, defense meta has been kind of shaky. So you'll see some stuff that may not be so relevant, but definitely some meta defenses. The first things first is carrying on the defense is not super great, especially with FCC. No Politis to deal with this, so technically I could have done it with an Oxalot Opsig. But again, showcasing Charles's AoE attack buff, which is very, very handy. And you saw that really big seed-on push. Operator Cigarette is a very, very good hero. I mean, and she got buffed really well. Hopefully they do that for ML Charles, even before people just say that he's bad. Like if they could probably make him a bit better. I'm not quite sure yet though. I'm not quite sure how. I'm not saying he's weak, but he's kind of like just in between. Like you can have him, you don't have to have him. That's where I feel. This one does have a Politis. You see the push, not as good, of course, without the Politis, but still pretty good to clear. So we're having a total of 60%, so 30% CR boost with left with Politis' passive. So usually in the Rem ones, you want to kill off Rem just so that she doesn't counter. But this is pretty good. Watcher Shuri is like kind of a bread and butter. He's the Sasha Athane's holder. And again, because AoE attack buff, there's really nothing that can survive that unless the hero is over 20,000 HP, has proof of valor or something like that. But the Sasha Athane's really helps with the CR boost. Of course, one of the books and Sasha probably the two artifacts most cleavers must have. So this one I took the easier approach. I mean, the Watcher Shuri still works here because of the what's it called? Because of the speed imprint. Kill off the. You saw the Charles CR boosting there with his S2. These defenses are less and less popular at the moment, though. So with perception buff and increased critical hit damage of 15% and crit rate. This one I just chose the easy way out to get the Sasha Athane proc with the AoE. That's what I kind of like about Watcher Shuri, is that he has the ability to do AoE and also single target nuke. So kind of similar to ML Charles. You can see that damage is pretty good. Of course, that's without an Aureus. And you will see that his S1 is not fully molded as I'm making this recording. Another one, very unusual defense. Not a very popular, not a meta one. Here I was debating what to kill, but yeah, Opsig with Portrait. 250 speed. They push back to Tempest Siren because of the barrier. I'm ready. Let's aim for the weak spots. So I wanted to trigger the T-Siren there on purpose. And I knew the S2 would have killed the Mui, so that's why I went for it. So trigger T-Siren early so that I get the kill here. So now Pavel. So this is a bit unorthodox. I definitely feel that this fight, ML Charles is a bit forced. I won't lie. It's a bit forced. You guys will see how it ends. He wasn't necessary here. Could have been strays or something like that. My strays is on the Is Your Comet artifact. I made a video on that separately when Rem's banner was released. But yeah, Strays would be a bit better here because that push. I didn't think that he would get that turn actually. I thought that the Sidon would have got a turn there. So I wasn't expecting to get S3 from General Purgus, but I guess I could have just, you know, hit the timer icon there and then just looked at the percentages. I think it was Warhorn as well. I think it triggered on that turn actually, now that I think about it. So this was a bit risky, I mean, because the Politis had an attack buff. So if it was a really well built Politis, I would have definitely lost. It hit my MO Charles as well, as you saw. So this one's kind of scuffed. This one's a bit scuffed, but I want to keep this in here. Again, just to show that turn cycling, very, very impressive with the Charles perception buff. That passive. So I think the CR passive and the perception buff are two different things. So he can still get the perception buff. But if he's like unbuffable, he can't get the perception buff, but he get the CR boost. So it's two separate things, it's two separate mechanics. This one's a bit closer to a more, I would say, meta defense, but Violet right now is more dominant. See, it missed the Charles, so it's kind of nice. It's nice to have. Nice to have a little miss there. Of course, with the Violet Talisman at my level, I would only be at like about 59%, I think. Mine's a plus 27. You guys will see at the end where I reveal the stats and stuff. So Strays is like one of my favorite cleavers. I mean, his S2 hits hard, his S3 of course hits hard. S1 hits hard too, but my S1's on Molet again. Strapped on Catalyst. So this one I'm bringing it into Violet on purpose. I wanted to showcase it, even though you can say it's forced, but in terms of like a cleave, this is probably the safest cleave you can do right now. Of course, I wouldn't consider Spec Henny part of a cleave deck. That term cleave really, I think, loses its original meaning, but the setup is a cleave setup into Spec Henny for the secure kill. So unfortunately, he didn't counter Charles there. I actually hit him. But if he had hit him or countered, he would have missed probably. But a Rem did miss, as you saw. This one was a pretty wacky thing. I accidentally double clicked Spec Henny. I was gonna kill off the Rem at that point, and then Watcher would kill the Ruel. But I had no idea that Ruel had like no effectiveness. My Spec Henny had no spare effectiveness, so it's at 30 what her awakening is allowed. So that Ruel had like pretty low effect resist, or I was really lucky, like just like a couple percent away from not being able to stun her. Regardless, I stunned her. I got lucky there. So in all the Violet showcases, I get lucky. I win. I'm just saying it's still not easy to cleave a Violet, but with MO Charles, because you had attack buff to all your targets, it's a bit better than, let's say, Pavel, in my opinion. Some people use Pavel on Symbol of Unity or whatever to begin the cleave, because at least maybe you have a chance to hit him without getting countered. But see, I hit him again. I was trying to show that he can dodge Violet, but it happens quite a bit. Like I still hit. I pretty much don't skip anyone in arena, or whether win or lose. I just hit everything. So I hit a lot of Violets, obviously. Pretty meta, pretty dominant in defense. It's definitely a counter cleave deterrent. So I think my Charles will get hit here, if I remember correctly. Oh my goodness, I hit him? Okay, never mind. I'm reacting to post action video, so. Oh wow, I hit him again. Okay, never mind. Well, that's sometimes Violet, you know. Sometimes he'll dodge everything, sometimes he'll dodge nothing. So this one, again, not as popular here. Landy is getting moved out, definitely a lot more. In place of Violet, but people who do have Landy on defenses generally are now on like very high speed, see that AoE there, save that counter Landy. So the counter Landy would have gotten the CR boost, especially she was hitting someone with a buff, so it doubles her boost. But because of Charles, and CDOM interaction, I was able to cut ahead. So it was very, very nice.
Do everything I can. Let's end this and see who falls.
I definitely have to kill the Chloe there, and of course she'll get the Death Pen S3 because everybody's buffed. I think everybody dies except Strays, but that's the good thing about Strays as well, that invincibility turn. Oh, never mind. Only Charles died. Yeah, the invincibility on Strays is very, very handy. Versus Landy. I'm not trying to rhyme. This one's a very unorthodox defense. It's not definitely not meta. I haven't seen it since this. But this was perfect. Last Rider Crowd without FCC. This is perfect because I can do AoE, do damage, and then trigger a full-on barrier, which allows, you know, Operator Secret to go wild. So for this one, I wanted the extra CR boost for Charles mainly, because mine's not max molded. But that you saw that cut, very, very nice cut. So with Saucer Thanes and getting multiple kills like this, he definitely gets his turns. I have used him in Guild War, not a lot because the defenses that I'm facing don't allow him all the time, but definitely a really good setup for like Watcher Shuri Strays or something like that. And CDOM, of course. So in a compressed fight, 3v3 fight, I think Emerald Charles has very, very good value. Although, like I said, it does depend on the defense. Arguably, you could use Rose for the same thing, but he does damage and he follows up really quick because of that buff.
I will show you the power of Nixseed.
Here, none of these things are kind of. I don't even know why I didn't CR boost. It's a habit of Politis being on defense. I should have did the S3 first. But my CDOM is built with 100% crit rate. Yeah, I'm looking at like who I should kill here, because if I don't kill SSB, she'll get another S2 and then I'm pretty much dead. But I saw the opportunity there for made Chloe to push back, and the Watcher Shuri will one shot.
Do everything I can. Let's end this and see who falls.
Look at me. I said look at me.
I pulled my weight.
You'll pay for getting in my way. Those without use must be removed.
As I'm making the recording, there's a very prominent meta defense. I think it's like Alina made Chloe, Politis, and Rem or Violet, like one or the other. That one is harder if the Alina's on Tome. She'll most likely cut the CDOM, even if you hit all targets. So that one won't be showcased here because Charles would just be forced to fail in that kind of fight. Anyways, you guys know my style. I don't, you know, pick the fights to showcase and say that this character is insane, but at least you can see what kind of fights. This defense, I was surprised to see. This is like old school meta. I haven't seen this since. I think this might have been a challenger player pushing to champ and then realizing that this is no longer the meta. Too easy to deal with now. So the Robbie actually got the turn. Luckily, it didn't even stun my Watcher Shuri because that would have been his. He would have been the next to go. I don't know if the AI targets the next in line. Like, I don't know if they're smart enough to. I'm not quite sure. But if it wasn't planned, that was pretty lucky for her to go for Watcher Shuri. This is a bit longer, but I mean, I got all these high damage dealers. So this won't take too long.
I never miss my target.
This is the path on which I belong.
This is a bit more meta, not the SSB. So I was just saying, it's either Rem or Violet in that slot. Violet more common now. Protecting them for one turn doesn't just guarantee like it doesn't guarantee a win for the defense team, but it definitely does slow down people who want to cleave. There are ways around it, of course, but I won't be sharing that here. But it's because it was SSB, that's why I brought the Charles. So this is a bit scuffed, right? So like even this, like, I didn't really think about this. That Politis ended up not being a DPS Politis. That's what I was banking on. So some people, there's like a mix and match, about 50-50 DPS Politis versus like tanky Abyssal Crown Politis. So this one was the tanky Abyssal Crown Politis, or is a violin. The 18,000 HP is a violin. So 18,000 HP. The Celine actually hit. I soul burned it for the extra damage. You get a kill quicker.
Look at me. Victory is within our grasp. I'm on my way.
Alright, that's over. Again, not super meta here. Anyways, I don't mind Charles going into Rem, because most Rems can't one-shot as long as your second attacker is able to one-shot her. And so for this one, the unhealable, the one strip away is like, it's not that good, but parry with Opsig, this team is very, very nice. Parry with Opsig, everybody's attack buffed, 3 targets are down, so if they can be left with a tank, and if the tank is yeah, if the tank is dead, like from strays or something, then you're only left with 1 DPS, but you have 4 DPS still. Strays being invincibility. So I think this is a DPS Politis because the damage is higher. Yeah, 8.7k, not max mullet S1. Again, you guys will see it at the end. This is, again, not super meta. Usually FCC instead of Last Rider Crow. But Last Rider Crow does give an opportunity, again, for me to proc the barrier and then run Operator Secret. It's really smooth. It's just like the interaction between these heroes. That barrier ignoring effect resistance for Operator Secret is one of those really sweet designs I really like. I think it's a bit unnecessary, but it's very nice to have, you know. It's very nice to have in our kit. When I say unnecessary, it means that it's like it basically overpacks her with like really nice goodies, which not a lot of heroes have those benefits. Yeah, so usually a team that runs this usually would run a fast Landy, but these players might not be arena main. So that boost for that CDOM was pretty high there, even with the Politis on the screen, as you can see. So she already cut the line. Everybody else was about the same speed, more or less. I think about 200s. So again, what I was saying that you know this kind of comp is like you're left with a tank, or maybe you don't get a tank left because the Aureus. So I've been cleaving this way pretty much, more or less. For sometimes I'll use Oxlots here and there. Like this team could have been Oxlots, but I wanted to try Assassin's Stitch, try to proc her to the 30%, but it didn't work, as you saw there. I was probably just a bit short of 30, so my Charles did not proc the perception buff. That was the plan. That's why I sequenced Assassin's Stitch go. Again, no risk here, no Politis, so I get the CR boost to make sure Watcher Shuri gets a turn. Or sorry, not Watcher Shuri, Strays. So my Strays does have the Azure Comet, so he gets the CR boost when someone dies.
the end?
I didn't go with the S3 there because I knew that I could have outsped and then therefore beat the Crow anyway. Again, the perception buff had gone off as you saw, so that Charles did cut the line quite a bit. T-Cern did miss both Assassin Sid and MO Charles, which I kind of thought that was kind of cool. Again, I mean, Assassin Sid, you shouldn't be banking on his evasion, but again, it's kind of just like Charles. When he gets it, it's nice. But for Charles, his case, you can run Shepherd of the Hollow, Moonlight Dreamblade, Violet Talisman, and it would be little risk with pretty good benefits.
I'll show you my ability.
Yeah, this one I'll run Oxalots because my Oxalots is probably my fastest opener outside of series. That Landy was quick too. Oh wait, no, it's just Bazaar, never mind. So got the kill, and then so the S2 for Charles proc, so he's now at the front of the line. And then now he can get a nice fat AoE with an attack buff. While everybody else is attack buffed anyway, but he has an attack buff while doing the S3, so that does change the way that he's been used so far. Gets the S3 from that Opsig first.
Victory is mine.
And then because I didn't really need a soul, like it's not like a J Kisei, I just used the soul right away. He had that for his second turn, so he could cycle. Evasion kicking in.
Another meaningless fight.
I will remove any and all obstacles.
Yeah, evasion kicking in there is really beneficial because like Opsig healing as well. It reduces the target that she has to heal. And we are back. Thank you guys for watching those fights. As usual, these larger videos, I want to give my monthly Patreon shout out, especially a really big shout out this time because I just realized like some of these guys have been supporting me through Patreon month after month for almost like over a year. So that's pretty amazing. And thank you guys so much. Silly, Azure, Deek Boy, Kariha, our newest member Rhythm, RG Fua, Stone Thunder, Tornby, Shambi, Potatoes, and Hippie. Thank you guys again for your continued support. If you guys are watching and you want to support me through Patreon, check the link down in the description below and see what I have to offer. But otherwise, let's get into the build. So as I showcased those fights, this is the exact build that I was using. The skill enhance is not maxed. I don't have an extra green Charles. I thought I did. So there you go, 100% crit rate. Woohoo! Woohoo! Now the skill enhancement is not at a hesitation to enhance because I don't think he's worth. It's not that at all. It's just that he's Scorpio, so the spears and the Black Curse powder, those like were pretty depleted with the ReZero collab, and then I got ML Kawazu. So they're all Scorpios. I'm very dry right now in terms of the catalyst, so I'm still farming it. As I'm making the recording, we're getting AP like hunt buff weekend, so during the AP buff, I'm gonna try to hunt that as hard as possible because a couple heroes I want to skill enhance and everything. So in the video that you saw, it's basically all this. Like that's all I had. So you can say that it handicapped his potential, but I think more or less it already showcased his potential. Now you did see a lot of the fights I bring FCC, like bring him into an FCC. So if this had an extra 20% damage, I might lose the barrier. I'm not quite sure yet though, because I do plan on keeping him on either Violet Talisman or in the future if I get another Shepherd of the Hollow, that would be good too. But that's, I mean, the artifact was bad before, so I didn't really pull for it. Now I really want him. I think Remnant Violet and Closer Charles are probably the two thieves at the moment I can think of who would really benefit from it, like the most. So currently running on Violet Talisman, as you saw, like I would bring him into Green Violet, which is pretty cancerous at the moment in terms of arena. I mean, he's everywhere, and in World Arena too. But it just gives him that extra security, some RNG that he doesn't just get, you know, one shot, you know, when he sets up your entire team. Because like you guys saw, like the S2, or you know, once he gets perception, his S1 actually does quite a bit of damage. Now Before we get into like my stats and stuff, so like his S1, I think that this is a really good skill. It has a similar feel to the Green Charles, I have to say. Like in a way they're actually a bit too similar. It's just like how the S1 S2 kind of works. Like Green Charles with S1 slash S2 smash proc, but like this giving him a 50% up to 50% combat readiness with increased crit chance and crit damage, and being able to use demolition instead. It just feels like it's kind of reminiscent of it. And then of course the S3 being in a full team attack buffer, he doesn't get a defense buff himself, but he gets an evasion buff because now he's a thief for whatever reason. Regardless, I think that they're quite similar, except that he just has different base stats, of course. The other thing is that the mod on elimination is a 1x mod. It's not terrible. It's standard S1. The S2, once you get perception, it actually becomes a quite interesting mechanic. So you can actually run this into Maffey's damage calculator. So if you go to the Maffey damage calculator website, you can actually run it and just crank the numbers on HP lost. So at a base, once you get perception, you're going to be doing demolition instead, but demolition will not trigger dual attacks, but you will get increased damage. So it's at a 1.2 times mod. That's assuming that the target you're hitting has max health. So that's a pretty good base to start, right? 1.2 for an S1, not bad at all. Once you hit a target is about 50%, you get about a 1.4. And once you get a hit a target at about maybe 1% health, you get about a 1.6. Now, of course, it feels like it's a bit wasted because it's like as their health gets lower, then he gets stronger. But it is a good way for you to snipe out a target that you see that, okay, they're at a certain health threshold, and you get used to how Closer Charles hits and like what kind of damage he can crank out. You'll be able to select your targets better. With the S2, if an ally except the caster attacks, enemy has less than 30% health, that's the end result. It will increase his combat readiness by up to 50% if he max, and then grants the perception for 2 turns. Can only be activated once every 2 turns. My experience with him is that it doesn't feel like it takes a long time. His like, as long as you're killing your targets, the turns that he's losing perception, it doesn't feel like much. Now, of course, it's every 2 turns, so technically, it actually outlasts his evasion, which is a 3-turn evasion. But I do want to talk about this. So some of the mechanics I found when I was using him, it wasn't really showcased, but it was like while I was using him in Guild War and stuff like that. If you, let's say you use like ML Kawazu and you hit a target and it hits their, like his initial hit before he detonates the burn, it only counts the initial hit. It doesn't count damage over time. I think that's self-explanatory, but I definitely think that's worth noting. So you can't grant this perception if your detonate leaves them with 30% health or less. Now, the 30% health or less does count if you kill someone. So in a lot of the fights that you saw, I use him into Operator Cigarette. Operator Cigarette kills. He pretty much just gets another turn, unless they have a Politis, of course. But that being said, it's just like, it's good to know how those mechanics interplay. So damage over time or detonation, if they're left with 30% health based on the detonation, not the skill itself, not the damaging skill itself, then it won't trigger this perception, even if the detonate kills them. All right, so that's just something to know. And then the S3 attacks all enemies with a descending after attacking, increasing attack for all allies with 2 turns, increasing combat readiness by 20%. So very nice to have, especially with CDOM. I mean, you get a 20% push plus the 10% times how many targets you crit. So on CDOM, that's quite a lot. If they have a Politis, of course that gets halved, but it's still quite a bit. And then the caster gets evasion for 3 turns. And like I said, I think that's pretty cool. Gives them a little bit of security. Now, I don't think Moonlight Dreamblade would really work well on him unless that's all you have. I mean, that will give you a 70% evasion after he does the S3. So if a green violet hits you, or an ML Ken tries to hit you, or whoever tries to hit you after he does the S3 based on a counterattack, they might miss, right? Rem is pretty dominant right now as well. So it's like having that chance to miss is pretty good, because if you're running him speedy, you're most likely not going to have so much bulk or enough luxury to get bulk on him. And I'm not super convinced that he's really good into a bruiser comp. When I did my initial thoughts on Charles, and I posted that video on YouTube, I did say that he will probably be better as a cleaver, although his damage does seem to be pretty good, and he does have same base stats as Violet. He just doesn't have the exact... He doesn't have the same requirements that Violet can, you know, go tanky, and, you know, he has a self-CR boost every time he counterattacks and stuff like that. So, you know, you can't really compare them, apples to oranges kind of. But the 3-turn evasion is really good. It saves me a lot, but of course you're banking on RNG, so it's not really good. The Violet Talisman, again, like I said, Shepherd of the Hollow would be my choice, because you do increase the damage as your HP is lowered, and you'll have the 20% dodge innate. So you have 70% dodge, but he self-attack buffs after you using the S3. Then they'll gain more damage, so it's kind of like Portrait, Tonfa, those kind of artifacts. Gain more damage throughout, so that would be the hardest hitting artifact with evasion. I've seen some people use like Alexa's Basket. Yeah, sure, I think that's okay, I guess, but to me, I'd prefer him having more punch. Alexa's Basket is a bit RNG to me in terms of like getting the great attack buff. Yeah, you could extend it with his S3, but then I don't know, but I think it's a style thing, so I wouldn't really criticize Alexa's Basket or anything like that. It's just that his S3 has up to a soul burn is a 1.2 times mod, so it's a bit lower than RB soul burn, but RB also has the benefit of a full focus soul burn S3, so you can't really compare the two cleavers. But his S1 is definitely where he shines, I think. But without the soul burn, the S3 does a 1 times mod, so it's pretty standard. It's pretty good, especially just for setup, just a bit of damage. If you're using him into squishy targets, it will do a lot of damage. Using him into bulky targets, like you saw, although I'm missing 20% damage, it didn't even remove the barrier off Fallen Cecilia, so it's not that good. And of course, the self-imprint is very, very good, especially if you want to run him speedy and higher damage. I mean, having up to 16% crit rate would be pretty good. So yeah, so anyways, quick show of the gear. Not really good. I didn't really put him on my best. I think that there are a lot of other speed DPS I want better gear on, so I kept him at a usable. Mainly I wanted him for the speed. I wanted his speed tuning for my Operator Cigarette. I wanted his speed tuning for like other heroes that, you know, I showcased with. So that's why there. It's not to say that, you know, I could give him faster speed just at a snap of a finger, but it is what I have. There are definitely other heroes I feel that have higher priority in terms of a mix of higher speed and higher damage, so like Pavel, Assassin Sid, etc. So I don't feel like he needs that yet. If I run him any faster, it will definitely be at the cost of, you know, me obtaining the gear to make him do that, and definitely, like I said, having the self imprint would be very, very beneficial. 16% extra crit rate means that much worth of rolls into more speed or other sources of damage, so it's pretty good. That's pretty much it. I showcased everything. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the Charles. And I definitely have to say though, like as I'm making the recording, the Angel of Light Angelica, yeah, I think that's the name, that unit is about to be released. It's not the one unit is not going to end all AoE, but it's definitely going to make AoE harder. I made my criticism on that in terms of her initial thoughts video, so if you want to know my thoughts on that, you can check that out. But in terms of like closer Charles, like where I find him right now, I think like for me, he's really fun. He already worked, like when he was released, I already saw him working in the comps that I've already tried to build, but without proccing Politis as S2. But honestly, if you don't get him, I think it's not a big loss. I think what he's really good at is that he has a kit that is taken from like a lot of other people. So Like he can be like a middle attack buffer CR booster. He could be an initiator if he's fast enough. He can be a closer, just like his name, like a nuke, single target nuker. His S1 really does a lot of damage. I wish I could showcase it with a Maximola, because I think that would be this one, and this one would be the first things I would max, and then this one I wouldn't mind not maxing it, to be honest. I don't see him doing so much damage on that S3 that I will make him a plus 15. Maybe when he gets buffed. But regardless, that's my honest like review on him, is that if you don't have him, you won't miss anything. He'll make some things more convenient, but mainly I still see him used for more of like a cleave mindset, and cleave is not super popular anymore. Only, you know, a handful of people, you know, can really pull it off well, and that's accounting if they have the gear to do it. So definitely an odd hero to be released at this time, but I personally think that he's really cool. I like that he has a lot of flexibility in terms of that the rotation on like when he attacks and stuff. So anyways, that's my full thoughts on Charles. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this, and I'll end this for the video recording. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.